Hello friends and welcome back. We are going to do a Q&A episode today. So I've got some questions that I gathered. I saw there was a number of questions that were really like for me. So I thought I would answer some Christina questions today because I needed a second from channeling. There's been a lot. This last weekend, my boyfriend and I were channeling, and I swear to God, solving the mysteries of the universe. And it was so intense, and I'm still integrating. We're doing it for a long, long time. So I'm like, I need a break from channeling for a second. Guides, you can come in next time. So anyway, we're going to do a Q&A episode. So we're going to go a little all over the place with this today. And I will remind you that if you have a question you want submitted to the podcast, whether it's a topic for me to discuss, a question for me to answer, or something for me to channel about, to ask the guides about, you can head to christinathechannel.com/pod, P-O-D, and you can submit it right there. That way it is all nice and easy and simple for me to find. Sometimes it gets difficult when things are in all different places. So if you have tried direct messaging me things, you probably got my autoresponder. Me and my team simply cannot be responding to everything everywhere. That is a personal boundary choice I've made. So I appreciate you respecting that. There is always a place to send inquiries. And for podcast topics, I love when you send in questions and suggestions and topics. I love it. Thank you for that. And the best place to do that so that we actually see it will be on the podcast page, christinathechannel.com/pod, P-O-D. Just FYI. Other quick updates on my end. Don't forget that Ahai energy healing training enrollment is opening up October 23rd. So we'll be open that week. We'll see how quickly spots get taken. I do have limited spaces. I run this training once or twice a year, and there are a good number of people on the wait list. So if everybody who is on the wait list gets accepted in, remember that you have to do the psychic development course first. That is a prerequisite. There are no exceptions to getting accepted. If everybody on the wait list does choose to enroll, then we will be full. So I recommend getting on that wait list if you're not already. Submit an application. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And that way you have the highest chance of getting in. If you want to be this round, so Ahai is the energy that I downloaded a few years back. It is the energy that I am on mission assignment from the divine in this lifetime to bring to the world. It is a very powerful frequency that really is helpful through this ascension process with DNA upgrades, with turning on our spiritual abilities. And I have seen miracle after miracle after miracle using this energy. You don't have to have any previous training in intuition or with energy work. You can do level 1, which is using the energy just for yourself. As I say, I feel that energy work is a non-negotiable. It's like daily hygiene. Everyone should know how to work with energy. And really, the more we ascend, we are going to realize that we're energetic beings, and everybody's going to need to learn this anyway. Level 2 is if you want to be able to send this energy to other people. So if you want to use that in your business or with your family, with your children, that would be level 2. So you can bundle those together if you would like to do both, or you can just do level 1 if that resonates with you. So just letting you know, I found with the Ahai, it very much is intuitively guided and led. I absolutely love running this. It's my favorite thing ever. I mean, it's my baby, so, and I just love witnessing the transformations, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, how gifts turn on for people, how people's bodies change, how people are healing in such beautiful ways and realizing that they are their own healer. That is really what I love witnessing for people. So it's a beautiful experience. We'll put the link in the description/show notes, depending on where you're watching, so you can tune in. And yeah, we open up enrollment officially October 23rd, and it's my favorite way to close out the year, honestly, especially because it gets people set up for the new year in such a powerful, potent way. And it's such an incredible tool to have and to work with over the holidays. So I really love opening it at this time of year. It is very intentional. So most of it you do on your own time at your own pace. And then we have our live opportunities that are, longer. It's like 1 day, but longer, 2 days, but longer. So it works with most people's schedules. Anyway, links will be in the description. Excited about that. And part 2, quick announcement. I am part of a summit. My mentor, my colleague, Jennifer Longmore, she's been on the podcast, is hosting a summit called the Clear Channel Summit. And it features over 20 different channels, all sharing our messages for 2024. So it's a really, really powerful, beautiful summit. I have my channel transmission that will be in that summit, and then you'll get access to all of the other channels' messages as well. So it's a great summit to sign up for, to prep for next year, to get that high frequency transmission heading into 2024. We'll put the link in the description/show notes if you want to sign up for that summit. It's totally free, and you also get a ton of amazing gifts from all of us who are part of it. So that is quick announcement number 2. And then other announcement number 3. Oh, I'm so excited. We are changing Ascension School. I'm not changing, we're updating, upgrading, whatever. We're having weekly calls, which I'm super excited about getting in this flow. We're doing live oracle sessions, and it's going to be a mixture of Ahai, energy work, transmissions, activations. They're going to be fun. They're going to be wild. They're going to be mixed bag of treats. So I don't even have words. If you are not already in the membership, join now. You can get access to those live calls, plus the daily oracle, which are channel messages sent straight to your inbox. We've got monthly energy updates. I have a library of hundreds and hundreds of trainings on intuition and manifestation and brain rewiring. We've got hundreds of channel messages in there, all of my daily energy practices. Like, this is my mystery school for y'all, and I'm so proud of it. And yeah, I can't wait for this next iteration. So ChristinaTheChannel.com/membership. You can do a free trial. We have a 7-day free trial if you want to test it out. This is the place. You guys, we've got to be in community right now. We've got to be in community. We've got to be spending time together in high frequency places with people who are on our wavelength. We've got to anchor in more light, which, we're all doing, but it's really powerful when we are all together in the same space. And I know a lot of you are feeling a lot more of this, like, it's this mission go time energy. I have been really amped up in that direction recently. And I know that in the spiritual space, like, people think this is all very fluffy, or it's about feeling good. And it's not just about that. It's not just about that. It's about real life change on a global scale. And you have to realize that the agenda, like, I'm going to go off here, but I know I talk about all this stuff. I need you to understand how important this is. The agenda is to keep us distracted. The agenda is to keep us divided. And so I want you to notice all of the things that keep you distracted, all of the devices, all of the platforms, all of the to-dos, all of the things that get thrown on us, that we have all these responsibilities. You know what I think about? I'm like, just the amount of time and energy it takes just to be a freaking human, of all these things we have to do, and the bills we have to pay, and the things we have to sign up for, and just sorting through my freaking mail. And I'm like, this is all distraction energy. This is not how I should be spending my time, right? And then add on other responsibilities. If you own a business, if you have kids, you have multiple kids, you have pets, you've got families, you've got, things happening with parents, like just being a human, it's a lot. Right? So we've got to fortify ourselves, and we've got to really, really realize that there's something bigger going on than just us. There's something bigger going on for just me. It's not me and me feeling good that motivates everything I do. That's one level of it, but that's what I need to be able to show up in the way where I can contribute to us as a whole, as one. We've got to realize where we're in distraction energy, and we've got to realize where. And this is, you guys, this is stealthy. This is insidious. This is deeply ingrained. I think back to things I learned in school. This is also religious programming. This is everywhere, right? What are all the things that have taught us to stay divided, to teach us it's good or bad, this or that? We're against this person, even competition, right? Friendly competition. And I know there's no ill will there, but you think about how people are with just sports teams. And there's some people that take it to another level. And it's like all of these things that teach us, hey, it's just friendly competition. It's like, where does that lead, right? I just want to come back to this because it's been really on my heart. I'm going to whatever. I have to say this before we get into the Q&A. I'll pull it together, but I've been super emotional. I know a lot of other people have too. And I want to like take it back to little Christina. And when I was really little, I was asking, as I'm sure a lot of you who are here were as well. I know you can relate, right? I was asking a lot of big questions. I would ask my parents a lot of big questions. I would ask my teachers a lot of big questions. At the time, you know, I was in the religious circuit or whatever. I would ask my pastors, the priests, big questions. I asked everybody big questions, and I was little. I was really young, and I was asking big questions when I was 2, when I was 3, and it kept going. And you know, one of the things that really I just couldn't understand, I needed an answer for, was why are people so mean to each other? Simple as that. Like, why are people so mean to each other? And I think that the way that I asked it, like I could feel, and I knew that the way I asked it hit people so hard, adults so hard, where I would watch their reaction. And I just, for a long time, I had a lot of mental health issues at a very young age because of everything I was seeing and experiencing psychically. And part of that was being so empathetic, and I'm like, how much of that is psychic versus like being a human? And I remember my parents would have the news on in the morning, you know, before work, and I would hear things, and I was really young, and I would watch, you know, my sister would be watching a movie, and there would be scenes, and I was so sensitive. And I'm like, is it that I like, and I say that I wasn't so sensitive. I was normally sensitive. I was a normal level of sensitive, which is being a human and being compassionate and being like, this is not okay. Like, this is not okay. And I could not wrap my brain around why people were so mean to each other, why people were so violent, why this is a form of entertainment, how we could just watch this and not bat an eye because it's not real. And also how there was so much of this that was very real that, you know, we hear about on the news, and we don't have that like heart to heart, like these are human beings connections. Anyway, since I got on this planet, this has bothered me. And it still bothers me. And it's something I still just don't understand. I mean, I do understand, not meaning it's justified, but I guess I don't understand. It's a big reason why I studied psychology in college and went down that. It's like why I'm obsessed with understanding people and how they think and why they think the way they do. And like, I think my understanding is that people do these things and this is what's happening. But like really on a deeper level, like it was so, you know, I remember like my first ever Akashic Records reading. And I didn't really say much, and she goes, wow, this is really interesting. And I go, what? She goes, your soul is just so innocent and so pure. And she goes, you're literally here. Your why is ending suffering. And I'm like, wow, where's the rest of my team at, you know? But like, really, you know? And I think it's that like childlike innocence that keeps me grounded. And I'm really grateful. That's a big part of my soul frequency. And we've talked about inner child, the divine child, and how that connects you to your intuition. That really is the secret sauce when it comes to opening up your intuitive gifts and working with energy. But like, I'm not like, there are so many reasons why I'm passionate about what I do, and I'm passionate about this spiritual work, and I'm passionate about energy work and intuition. It's about sovereignty. It's about taking your power back. It's about realizing your own healer. It's about not feeling trapped in your life. And it is about, on an individual level, how can we get people out of a place of feeling powerless and trapped and limited by their circumstances, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that fights against people, and it's not fair. And then it's okay, but if I can learn these tools, how can I create something different, right? That's why manifestation is so important. It's not just about, oh, I want to manifest a red purse. Like, I don't care if you want to manifest a red purse, like whatever, it's fine. But like there are deeper reasons why I give a shit about this. And I'm saying this because like sometimes things happen in the world that feels so big and so sad, and I feel like people think that there's nothing they can do, and you have to understand like how important this is, how important it is for you to be in spaces like this, for you to be learning about these types of concepts, for you to be doing your own personal healing work, for us to be doing a lot of this healing on a generational ancestral level, for us to be healing like for all the people we're connected with, and for us as a collective, for us to be living from different paradigms and at a higher level of consciousness, so we can actually tap into that frequency bandwidth of pure unconditional love and forgiveness, and seeing us as one, and coming back to the heart and compassion. And like that is really the energetic way of going about this, right? Like I'm not a politician, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher, like, and I have my lane and my place, and there are a gazillion other people, there's billions of other people in this world who have their unique mastery, and we all need each other because we don't all think the same, we don't all work the same, and we have different passions, and all of that plays together beautifully to create something where we can really create massive change. It's not about everybody doing the same thing. It's about us all leaning into our inspirations and our the things, the way that we naturally are coded to be, leaning into that and going to the mastery of that instead of trying to be like everybody else. And so while there might be conversations that you feel like you're not educated enough to be a part of, I'm not educated enough to be a part of every conversation for sure. But what I do understand is energy. And what I do understand in my life is that whenever I want to make a change in my life, whether it's healing anything, it's shifting something physically, it's something within my business, it's within very real life relationship dynamics, friendships, people who maybe there's some low frequency energy between us for whatever reason. Maybe somebody's upset, or maybe there's sadness, losing loved ones, like all of these dynamics in our lives. Like we are here to not deal with, but we are going to deal with people. We have to learn to work together, and like this whole conversation, or like there can't be light without the dark, right? Within what dimension, within what plane? And like, maybe it sounds silly, but like, I really do believe like we can create something different. We have evidence of it across dimensions, across planets, across different beings. And so I think that's why I love channeling so much and working with these other entities and communicating with them and doing sessions and things like that, because it's like, this is information from energies that know what it is to be pure unconditional love. And how can we start to bring that onto the planet, right? Because hurt people. They do. And I don't think that everybody chooses to change, but I do believe people can change. I do. But people have to make that choice. And I think some of the most powerful way to influence anybody is by example. The worst way to try to influence people is by yelling at them or telling them what they should do or what they should believe and telling them it's going to work. It's like when you live by example and when you view the world in a different way and just embody that, it inspires people. I know that, no matter how many times I can try and tell people, it doesn't convince anyone of anything. So I just gave up on that a long time ago. And when people in my life give me feedback about things that have inspired them, they're like, I heard you telling this story about your life, or I saw you make that choice. I saw you make the choice to shift, or I was hearing you talking about how you handled that dynamic with that person. And it was them witnessing me showing up a certain way that maybe inspired them to see things in their own life a different way. And there's a lot of, unfortunately, low frequency energy. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of hurt in our world. And I don't love talking about all that kind of shit, but it's the real, right? And when we're in situations where I feel like there's so much bigger than us and we want to help, but we don't know what to do, we can come back to like remembering that like your frequency is important and the way you show up in this world is important, and you cannot underestimate the ripple out effect of that thing. You cannot. Like your light, your energy, your intention. I mean, you can change your whole freaking country. You can change the whole freaking world. Think about how many people we know worldwide whose embodiment, the way in which they showed up, like has gone down in history positively and impacted so many people. And so I know some of it sounds corny, but this is like really my why. This is like I give a shit about this, and there has been, you know, a lot happening, a lot of people getting hurt, and it's so sad. And we're all human beings. We're all human beings, and we are not meant to all be the same, right? That's part of what makes it beautiful. But I really if I care about one thing, it's like, how can we help people heal, and how can we help anchor in a really different frequency on this planet in such a powerful way that everybody has to freaking adjust to it. You know, when one person walks in the room and they're holding a vibration so freaking strongly that everyone starts to kind of adjust to them energetically, that's how powerful energy is. And like, that is like, let's zoom out. If you feel like you can't do anything, there are always things we can do. And the way that we show up in the healing work we do here matters, right? And so if you ever think that your message doesn't matter, or like the choices you make don't matter, who's paying attention? Everyone's paying attention, whether or not they know your name or your face. We can all feel each other's energy, and we can feel the energy of the planet. We can feel the energy of other people, whether or not we're conscious of it, right? So this is really powerful work you're doing, and being here and being part of this community. If you're here, I know that you are anchoring in a higher level of consciousness, and I thank you for that. And I just had to share that and express that. Take it as you may before I got into some of these questions, because there's been a lot on my mind and my heart, you know? So I know a lot of other people are feeling that too, and I'm sending you love, your intention, your energy, your prayers. They all matter for everybody, you know? So sometimes in life we do things, we don't do things because we think, oh, it's not going to make a difference. Every little thing makes a difference. Every prayer, every intention, every choice, the way that you choose to show up. Like if there's a moment where you're getting upset with someone and you choose that moment to not respond from anger, from fear, from hate, and you choose to like, how am I going to respond if I just recalibrate to love? Every moment you do that, that matters. It matters. Okay? So that is my spiel. Thank you for listening. Let's get into some questions. Okay, these are kind of all over the place. Well, my jaw is hurting, so if you're watching me and you see me looking to the side, it's because I'm reading the questions. Okay, so I guess we'll just go on to this. I'm making faces. We'll go on to this topic of low frequency things, because we're already there. And some of this overlaps with it. Am I able to go more into the Avengers parallel to the ET situation? You know, I get most of my downloads from movies. Anything in like the fantasy realm is probably going to give you a lot of insight. There are like direct maps, whether that is like literal, this is literally what's going on, or this is a perfect metaphor, analogy, it's similar to it. You have to understand that a lot of the low frequency beings on this planet, the way that they are able to do the things they do is by getting people to unknowingly opt in to things, right? So this is where you've got to be careful of trends, things like that, right? It's like, and part of that is out in plain sight, right? So as we've watched these shenanigans unfold in the last, forever, right? Shenanigans have been unfolding, unfortunately, forever. And especially all the stuff, like, could it be any more obvious? And you got to see how obvious this shit is, and people still pretend like they can't see it. It's right in people's faces, and they're like, okay, like they have to say what they're doing before they do it. Okay. And all the shenanigans that happened 3 years ago, that was all literally out public websites. It's like, none of this has been hidden. This has been said verbally. It's been written, like it's all out. Okay. That's how it works. And some of those outs happen in movies. And it's really interesting for me. You know, I studied in college, I studied psychology and film. I've always loved film. I love the messages, love the intricacies, and it's very interesting to learn about different directors and see how, you know, some people are unveiling things for high frequency reasons. Some people are unveiling things for low frequency reasons, but things are unveiled. So no matter what you think about, you know, maybe the director or whatever, things are getting unveiled. And there are a lot of, you know, truths that come up in a lot of these fantasy realm. Like there's a lot of truth that comes up in that area. So anyway, if you want a robust spiritual education, obviously watch all of Harry Potter. And a lot of Disney movies give you a lot of spiritual insight, including like the Avengers, all of the Marvel movies. I guess DC, but anyway, there's just a lot of spiritual truth to it. So when it comes to Avengers parallel to the ET situation, I guess it's a big question because there's like so many movies, you know, and I'm like trying to figure out a way I could like watch the movies and like literally share every note I have. Like I literally just, if anyone has any ideas for how I could do this succinctly and like in an organized fashion, like I'm super serious. Like I would love to just watch every movie. What we've been doing with the Harry Potter series is good, but I can't do that for every movie I watch. And I feel like every single movie need to be like, let me map out what's happening here. So especially if you watch like Captain Marvel, for example, and so you watch like these beings coming onto the planet and scanning people and then shape-shifting into them. Or that new show, I think it's called Secret Invasion. That is very like literal. I don't know what to tell you other than like it's literal. It's literal, right? So we might not have superheroes that we see flying around or like with these whatever, but I will say all of the technologies that all of these superheroes have in these movies are available. That there are people in the government that have access to these different types of suits and powers and abilities. We are held back in the dark ages, basically, with the technology that we have access to. But when it comes to a lot of the ET interactions and a lot of the this idea of like, who among us, right? That is a very, very real thing. And like the kind of the shape-shifting into different beings, all of that. So that's what I'll say about that. I couldn't really be like more specific without going into the movies, you know, like one by one, like we're going to break it down, but that's what I'll say. Okay. Thank you for that question. I think you mentioned that you're moving from living on your Pluto said that. Pluto line. Can you talk more about that experience and was it part of your decision to move? So, great question. You can refer back to my moving episode for the full story, but it wasn't my only factor. It definitely wasn't my only factor. And I'm also working with two different charts, right? So that complicates things a little bit because there are some areas where I have really positive, in my opinion, energies on one of my charts, and then not really great energies on my other chart with my new birthday. And I definitely like feel both energies very strongly. And so I'm taking into account that. And there have been places that I used to feel really, really great before my walk-in, and now things are going awry because my new chart has disharmonious aspects there. So it's interesting for me to kind of like balance both of those, and feel into that, because both are kind of at play. And so in my new chart, what's going on is, I forget, it's like, is it like Saturn conjunct Neptune? I don't know. But basically the translation was that there will be like blocks, like blocks in the spiritual realm connected to my business. And I have just been feeling for a really long time like I felt like I was pushing a boulder up a hill every single day. Everything just felt really, really hard. And that's for a number of reasons. I don't think that's just my astrocartography. I actually have so many friends who have been leaving San Diego who have been feeling the same way. Like a ton of us left at the same time, and a number of my friends who are still there are planning on leaving again soon. So I think a lot of people are just feeling like there has been a lot of stuff energetically happening in San Diego, and I think I'm also kind of tired from doing so much grid work, and like I don't know. And I also think like contracts are just up, and sometimes a lot of people at the same time contracts up, and it's like a fresh wave of energy coming in that can really upgrade the space. But in terms of living on my Pluto line, that was something that I had found out about like a lot, like honestly, when I first moved to San Diego, and I was trying to figure out, I was wondering if there was something to do with my health, because I was still going through all my health stuff when I first moved there. And that had come up that I was on the Pluto line. And I was like, well, that makes sense. This is why I always go through these intense death and rebirth cycles. And I just felt like my life has been a consistent, like, I build something, I create something, and then it dies. It's done. It dies. And I have to rebrand, whether that is with my actual business or my life. And I feel like I'm so good at rebranding. Who is it? Mark Champagne. Mark is like, rebranding is your brand. I'm like, yes, it is. Thank you. I got just so used to the death and rebirth energy, but it's really tiring. I think death and rebirth, obviously that comes up in everybody's life in smaller, like it's not going to go away in my life, but it was just in such big ways, so consistently. And I'm just one person, and it's like this level of giant, like death and rebirth, plutonic energy to deal with all the time is truly exhausting. And I just need some space in my life right now to chill, to heal, to like calm my body down. And since being here, my nervous system is so much happier. I want to be away from everybody. Like, I want to not have friends for a second. I need to take care of myself. I think that it is hard to explain how plugged in so many people are to me, unless you're in my life. And I love having lots of relationships. I do love that. I have that 4 line, and I got so in my 4 line, and I need some heavy 2. I'm a 2-4. I need some heavy 2 right now. And I just need it. And my nervous system got totally fried, and I really can't show up for anybody, including myself, if I'm feeling like that. And just being here has helped so much. And this is what I need for me right now, you know? So the Pluto energy it feels like a lot of work, and it was all the time. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that. It has allowed me to grow a lot. And I love some Pluto energy. Let's be honest. Like, look, I'm somebody that likes Pluto energy. I mean, I'm North Node Scorpio, like Scorpio moon, like I love that kind of shit, right? But it was very tiring, again and again and again, and I needed a break and I needed a different energy. And I've lived on that line my whole life, right? So I know a lot of people move east to west, and so they are experiencing different energies, and something that I realized, and also my boyfriend has been in the same boat, where he realized like we've both only been on our one line our whole lives. Like, I grew up in the Bay Area in NorCal, and then I moved south to LA, and then I moved to San Diego. So I've been on that like similar energy line, and it's a very intense line. And so I need something different. And the moon line that I'm on is not like, I didn't move somewhere where it was like super chill, I guess, for me, but it's definitely chiller, and it's my moon. It's more of an emotional experience. It's my feminine energy. It's a different kind of intense that I'm really liking, and is exactly what I need for growth right now. So when I lived on my Pluto line, just going back to this question of, can I talk more about that experience? Was it part of my decision to move? it honestly wasn't the Pluto line because I stayed there for like 5 more years after I found that out. It was all of that. It was a factor in my mind around like this is exhausting. It was really my new chart and having this like this big block, spirituality, business, growth, like it just. And I could feel that. And I was feeling it so palpably in my body. And it was nice to have that validation from my astrocartography. Like, yeah, this is happening. And those were definitely factors. I still, after I found that out, I still looked at houses in San Diego. And I went through that process and everything was just not feeling right. And I just knew there were so many reasons why. It was just my time to move on to something else. And I do plan right now. This might change, so maybe I won't. But right now I do plan on going back there in a few years. So I just need a break. But yeah, those are personal decisions. Like, I don't think we should let astrocartography or astrology or anything run our lives, but it is helpful information. There's so many other energetic factors that can go into how a space feels for you, and we also have the power of transmutation. But yeah, the Pluto line, tiring. Rebranding is the brand, So that was my experience there. Okay, next question. Just finished your latest podcast and it was so fascinating. I think this is about Paris. I need to hear more about the dark entities you saw. I kept picturing were dementors flying around sucking people's souls, and you're the only non-muggle there who see it. What do they look like to you? Are they dangerous? Define dangerous, like yeah, of course. In the sense of like when someone is not connected with their inner power and doesn't have their tools and doesn't have their awareness, it can be dangerous of infiltrating someone's fields and how they're feeling and sucking the good energy out of them. And then really when you say, I keep picturing where dementors flying around, that's really what it looks like. So they're all different types of beings that I was seeing that look like every creature you could imagine in the realm of Dementor creature, like in all the movies. You don't like weird creatures that are not loving, like, yeah. And a lot of them do look like Dementors, yeah. Flying around, feeding off people's energy, blocking people's light. And when people are unaware, they don't always realize what's going on, and I've talked about this with my episodes around like mental health. It's like a lot of people who struggle with different mental health issues have low frequency entities that have gotten in their field. That is not saying people are bad or wrong or they meant to do that. This is just part of like moving through the world. There's shit that happens, right? There are spaces. I've talked about this. Like there are movies I've seen where afterwards I have to clear myself because shit just got thrown in my way, right? And so that's why I'm like, thank God for my intuitive abilities and my ability to work with energy, and everybody has access to that if you want to commit yourself to opening up your natural abilities. So like, yeah, they can be dangerous if you don't know what to do, if you're not in your power. But it's like, it's very like insidious. Like a lot of times it's more mental health, or it's like health issues, or like people like having depression or anxiety, or getting physically ill, or getting really tired, or getting like the flu, random shit like that. Negative self-talk, infiltrating people's consciousness and their way of thinking, like all of that, fatigue, things like that. Are they dangerous if you know your shit? No. Let me tell you something. In the realm of spiritual gifts and spiritual abilities, we all have different abilities that we are very much coded for, right? So different light workers have different missions and things that we're uniquely coded for. And it's sort of like in the Twilight Saga, as you go deeper into the series and you get to Breaking Dawn, you start to learn about the different vampires and how they all have different like special gifts. Like the vampires have all their regular vampire gifts, but then you go deeper in and it's like different people have different like natural abilities. Or even like in Harry Potter, like, you know, different professors or adults will have things that they're like naturally kind of gifted with. And hopefully that's making sense. We have that in the spiritual world. And one of mine, I have a few things that I'm like, my soul is very good at. One of mine is clearing low frequency entities. One of mine is handling that and removing shit like that. And, you know, I had been told that for a long time from different like healers or different psychics had said that to me. I didn't really understand it until I really started doing this work. And kind of realizing what was going on. And I've had a lot of that kind of revealed to me. I mean, honestly, since childhood, but it's one of the reasons why, I mean, I have a strong field. I'm able to attract a lot of shit in, but I was always shown from a young age, whenever these entities would try and get close to me, they would run away. And my friend Robin, she was a couple weekends ago, she was like, oh, you're a huntress. Like, because we were talking about the difference between people who will like kind of get ready to like fight the dark energy, if that makes sense, in the astral, versus I'm like, y'all are running away from me. And I've always seen it like that. That's been my experience. They don't want to get close to me. And that is the power of keeping your frequency really high, right? When you have a high vibration and when you are in your power, they are scared of you, because this shit will literally, like, I mean, a low frequency entity will get blasted apart by my light. Like if I direct my energy to, it's going to explode. I always tell people, it's like, I don't know if you've seen the Scooby-Doo movie, the first live action one, with Freddie Prinze Jr. and, you know, and I haven't seen it in a really long time, but it's actually on my list. My guides told me to rewatch it. But you know, at the end, how I don't even remember what those beings were, but it's like when they saw the sun, they like literally exploded. This is pretty much what it looks like. So there's no reason, like these energies feed off of fear. And when you don't have fear, they're powerless, and you can transmute that shit and you can clear that. So yeah, that's what they look like. And I'm like, not today, y'all. That shit's gotta go. So, yep, pretty much. And you know, I think honestly, in my work, and sometimes just being honest, heart to heart here, like sometimes I struggle with, obviously, like I spend so much time working in other dimensions and with different beings, and what I share here is just a percentage of what I'm seeing and experiencing. And I definitely like to keep my topics in a certain direction, because I don't like to add to the fear. I like to give people tools to help them. I like to talk about real life shit, because that's what matters, in addition to all the other stuff. But I do think sometimes it's important to talk about topics like that. I don't love to talk about that. Like, yeah, I saw the Dementors at the Louvre. But at a certain point, and I think especially with kind of going back to what I started this episode with, like, we've got to be fucking real about what's going on. You know, and I don't avoid things in my life, but I think that a lot of people just really don't realize, and they try to avoid it, or they want to avoid those topics. And it's like, look, that either way, that's what's going on, right? And I've had this conversation with people in my life. It's like, either way, we live in a world where this shit exists. Like, and not even, let's move outside of like the astral and other dimensions, different types of non-physical entities. Let's just talk about like regular life, right? Like I, as a person, when I'm aware of safety things, you know, because there's stuff, and pretending like there's not stuff that could happen is not serving me. And so it's not to know that and then come replace a fear with living, but it's like, hey, I understand that exists, and I also understand how to take care of myself, and I'm going to step into an empowered place with that. But I think that the avoidance or bypassing or pretending it doesn't exist isn't helpful. It's not helpful. So I don't like to energize things, right? Like, I'm not going to spend my time focusing on things I don't want. Like, classic manifestation or things that I don't really want. I'm not going to spend my time energizing it or paying attention to it or worrying about it. That's not helpful, but it's okay that it exists. And I understand that my focus and my intention are powerful, and I'm going to lean into that and the things I do want. And I'm going to lean into raising my vibration and doing my work and having my tools so I can be in an energy of creation. And I'm constantly in an energy of creation, and I'm not in an energy of waiting to see what happens and then defending. It's a very different frequency. So there you go. All right. On your recent podcast about mold, you mentioned how one reason people might be sensitive to mold is that they hold onto other people's energy and they don't know how to transmute it. Could you talk more about how to do that? Yes. I'm just going to take a sip of this really quick. Thank you. All right. When I first, when I was something so funny, when I first started my podcast, I started it with, this was forever ago, like 9 years ago, right? I was in college and I started it with two of my girlfriends, and we started this podcast. It had a totally different name, totally different vibe, totally different point. And it was really just about shooting the shit about college life. Like, we just talked about all kinds of random shit. And, we're just like, we're 20, we're having fun, we're 19, we're 20, whatever. And we used to have this tradition where we would go out for dessert. We were huge foodies. We had a foodie account on Instagram. Like, that was our thing. It was so fun. And I was food blogging also at the time. And so we love to explore places. We lived in Los Angeles, you're like young, you're in LA. There's all this good gluten-free vegan stuff. We're healthy people, like quote healthy, right? We're really into health and wellness. We're really big foodies. So we would have a tradition where we would go out and find like a fun new vegan gluten-free dessert. We're all had a big sweet tooth. We'd get it. We'd bring it home. We'd have our dessert party. And while we ate our dessert, we'd just shoot the shit and record our podcast. And it was so fun. It was so fun. And like, it's just this little podcast. Like, now that we're doing it just for fun. And it was a fun tradition. And we got so many negative comments from people. I can hear people drinking and I can hear people eating. It's so gross and it's so unprofessional. And I was just like, this is what's wrong with the world. Don't listen to it. Why are you ruining my fun? You're ruining my fun. Anyway, so then I realized I developed this thing where, like, I talk a lot on the show, and sometimes I really just need to take a sip of water. And I noticed that I had developed, like, because of that when I was a lot younger, we stopped eating or drinking on the show. And I was like, I had developed this thing where I had made a rule in my head unintentionally that I couldn't drink water on the show. And I'm like, wow, if you guys are not okay with me drinking water while I record, then you don't understand what's happening here. So it's okay. I can drink fluid. This isn't water. This is raw goat's milk, but it's fine. All right. So back to the question. That's probably an answer. People might be sensitive to mold. They hold on to other people's energy and don't know how to transmute it. Could you talk more about how to do that? Yeah, there's so many ways we can transmute energy, And so I think one of the main tools that I teach is Ahai, doing energy work. Energy work changed my life because I started to actually be able to vibrationally see and feel and pull out all of this energy I was storing for other people. So releasing that, or if I'm feeling an energy, it's like knowing that process of alchemy within your system of if I'm feeling anger or sadness or fear or whatever it is, and it's in my body, am I just going to stuff it down or like, what am I going to do with it? And one of the ways you can transmute something is just by literally sitting with it. Like anxiety. One of the ways that I transmuted my anxiety was I learned to just feel it. And I used to always avoid it and try and manage it. And then I was like, what if I just sit here for 10 minutes and I feel anxious and I let myself go all the way into it? And that gave the energy a place to move, and then it could actually exit my body. So somatic work, right? Shaking work, TRE, shaking. There's all different types of somatic body practices, dance, all types of people work in the somatic space. Things with your physiological body, dancing, moving it out, communication, talking about it, releasing, screaming, writing letters. So whether it's you or someone else, whoever it's from, like, what am I doing with that thing? There's a million ways to transmute it. My ways are energy work. I communicate, I yell, I express, I cry a lot for people. I don't even know who it is, right? I cry for people. I don't have to know what it is, but I can feel it in my body. Or even just being on social media, family dynamics, right? People just stuff that shit down and try and avoid it. They try and talk themselves through it. And I think, and look, this was honestly my issue with a lot of the things I learned. Like when I went to school for psych, like I was planning on becoming a psychologist, and I was like, it was so mental, right? And that field is a lot more expanded, and there are a lot of people who aren't just there, and there's a lot of value to what's up here, right? And even with brain rewiring, I love brain rewiring. It's a game changer. And there's other stuff that goes with it of like, are we clearing out the energetic debris? It's because it can't all just be in the brain. And people, like, I used to do this, and I wondered why I could never really get out of the way I thought or felt with difficult relationships in my life. Like, for example, things with different family members and stuff like that. And it was like, because I would try and talk my way out of it. And I would go to therapy and I would be like, okay, can you view it in a different way? It was a mindset shift. It was thinking differently, whatever. And I just kept coming like back into the loop where it was really mental, it was up here. And when I started to just like literally release it, to transmute it, to feel my freaking feelings, if I was angry, like create a safe space for myself in my bedroom or in my car and like scream and get mad and let myself cry and let it all out, and like somatic practices and punching a pillow and like shaking things out and dancing and all of that, shaking, all of that. Like when I started to do energy work, it started coming out of my body. And when I first started doing energy work consistently on myself, it was like, oh my God. You know what it was like? It was like when someone's never done a colonic before and they get their first colonic and they're like, I have years of shit to get out of my colon. Sorry if that was a crude analogy, but that's what it is. I was like, I suddenly looked in my energy body and I was like, I did not know this was here. And no wonder I have all these like weird things that irritate me, and I'm getting triggered all the time, and I can't let this go, and I can't change the way I'm thinking over here. Like, holy shit, right? And it was like, and so I spent probably that first 1 to 2 years of when I started actually working the energy body, finally being able to release it. Finally be able to get it out of my energy field, right? And that's why people like, with energy work, people come in and like we can do, a year's worth of freaking therapy in a session. It's not therapy. I'm not a therapist, but like, because I can see it in their field and pluck it out and pull it out, get it out, right? Or can we take that thing and alchemize it and work with it? And that can be that's partially conscious and thinking about it differently, but there's working with the frequency and feeling the emotion. And it really is, it's that, how do I turn my pain into my purpose? That's transmutation, right? How do I turn my pain into a piece of artwork? How do I turn my pain into a piece of beauty? How do I turn my struggles into something I love about myself? Right? Those are big picture transmutation. So, I would say like every single thing I offer in my work, psychic development, Ahai for sure, abundance accelerator, literally every single thing I offer, everything in the membership, every book I've written, these are, if you feel into that and you apply these things, this is transmutation. Boundaries. Not holding on to people's energy. This is learning to release. And I think that is a very interesting word to tune into. I like that. I should go deeper into that. Let's like mark that, spirit guides. I want to channel about that. This word release. Like, I want you to think about what your relationship is with release. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and he just kept saying like, that he was saying like he doesn't like to release things. And I think that a lot of us have that, and maybe it's something generally in your life, and maybe it's something in a certain area of your life, but like, I want you to think with the energetic of that, when you're not ready to release things. Like, I don't like to release things. How much space is that taking up? How much old energy you're holding on to? How is that showing up in or on your body? How is that showing up in terms of your relationships? What is that blocking you from? How is that stopping you from manifestation? this whole, like, I really do believe in, for me personally, and I'm not saying this from a health and wellness, like the health and wellness side of this is relevant, but I'm not saying this as like in the typical health and wellness thing, like way of seeing this. I really do believe in like detoxification as a lifestyle. It has to be my lifestyle. It is my lifestyle. And if I was not constantly supporting detoxification energetically, physically, emotionally, I would be so like clogged up in every way. All of my energetic portals would be clogged up. This is one of the big reasons why people have issues with money, because they're not releasing. They're not like, things are not flowing. The pipes are not flowing, right? And so the same way, like if you do not poop your whole life, you're going to have problems. You're not releasing toxins, your hormones are going to be all fucked up. Like it's the same thing. Like if you're not releasing the energy, if you're not moving the energy, which can be done physically, emotionally, all the things we talked about, straight up energetically, right? Whether it's Ahai or breath work or another type of hands-on healing or like whatever it is. There's all kinds of modalities, you know, do the ones that resonate for you, right? Like these are ways of clearing the pipes. And that allows your frequency to naturally rise because you're a naturally high frequency being. That allows you to receive more information. That allows more things to come your way because you have energetic space. And I mean, it's literally like how I channel. It's how I get new ideas. It's how everything comes in, right? So that's what I would say. Transmutation, you know, I think that's such a big topic. And I think one of the best ways, at least for me, to understand transmutation has been learning about energy work. And because those principles have been like applied in every area of my life, because that's what energy work is. It's transmuting things. It's, you know, classic. Energy cannot be created or restored. It can only be changed. And so if everything is energy, then I can transmute, I can shift, I can transfigure anything. One of my favorite things at this last retreat, the Harry Potter retreat, was I taught all the different classes, taught divination and potions and all the fun stuff. And we did a transfiguration class, and we talked about that in terms of transfiguring thoughts and emotions in our lives. And we also talked about that psychically and energetically. And for me, witnessing that, seeing that psychically, energetically, like that's what I'm doing when I'm doing energy work. If there's something in someone's body, sometimes it's plucking it out, but even when I pluck it out, I'm transfiguring it. I'm doing something with that energy. I'm not just like tossing it to the side. I am always transmuting it. I'm transfiguring it into something else, or within their system. Like it's not just removing everything. It's also, what can we transform here? What can we heal and reactivate and upgrade within the system? And that has allowed me to think about everything in my life in a very different way. So I would definitely recommend all these podcasts. I would recommend the energy practices in the membership. I would recommend going through I think the membership is a great place to start in Ascension School with all of those trainings on intuition and manifestation and brain rewiring and the daily energy management practices. Like those are all great places to start, and starting to like learn to feel your feelings, like getting in spaces where you're feeling again and letting it out, right? And I would really journal on that. What is my relationship with release? And even how is that showing up in my body, right? Are things like, do you feel congested in any way? For some people, it comes up in their sinuses and allergies. For others, it's digestively. For other people, it's acne and skin issues. For others, it's inflammation. For other people, it's a tightness in their chest. For some people, it's I feel like I have a frog in my throat. I can't communicate. I get choked up. Like, where are things clogged? And those are some places to look. And what does it look like for me to move, to release? Like, when do I feel like I had a release? What makes me feel like I actually really released it? And that... there's nothing better than that feeling. You know, when you have a really big cry and you get it all out, and it sucks when you're in it, but at the end you're like, wow, I needed that. It's actually a good feeling to transmute, you know? And sometimes that is taking something we have believed to be true before, we've seen a certain way, and viewing it differently, getting a different perspective, right? So Manifestation Mastery, I feel like, is a great book for that. White Tablets is a great book for that. So you can check all of those out as well. All right, we're going to wrap up there. Thank you for those beautiful questions. I have some more I didn't get to, so we'll do those in a future episode. Don't forget, if you have a question or a topic, send it in at christinathechannel.com/pod, pod. You can specify if you want me, Christina, to answer, if you want me to channel about it. We organize it all that way. So today were some Christina questions, and the guides will be here next time. They're like, come on. Gotcha. All right. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you again so much for tuning in. I am sending you so much love, and I will see you in the next episode.